Hi there, my name is Veronica Whitley. I'm a Homeworks by Precept consultant and homeschool mom here in Texas. Today, let's take a look inside of Writing and Grammar 8. English 8 is comprised of writing and grammar and literature. We're going to look at the writing and grammar portion today. The purpose of the writing and grammar course is to help our children become better communicators. They will learn about different grammar concepts and use those concepts to improve their writing. They will also practice writing a variety of essays, all with the goal of helping them to develop clear, God-honoring written communication. Let's take a look inside. First, let's take a look at the two-part Teacher's Edition. The Teacher's Editions are broken down into 18 chapters containing 180 lessons, or a full school year. Those lessons are divided between 12 grammar chapters, 5 writing chapters, and a research chapter. There are two parts to the Teacher's Edition. Part 1 contains chapters 1 through 9, while Part 2 covers chapters 10 through 18. We're going to start by taking a look at Part 1. Part 1 starts with the table of contents. Here we have some introductory material. And then Part 1 covers chapters 1 through 9. And then Part 2 of the Teacher's Edition will cover chapters 10 through 18. And then at the end of the Teacher's Edition are some teacher resources. The question of how Christians should express themselves in their writing will be addressed through 4 biblical worldview themes covered in the chapters in this book: empathetic writing, logical writing, discerning writing, and virtuous writing. The academic rigor pages will help you to see what you want your child to learn, or the course objectives for this course. Teaching and learning supports will give you strategies and tips to help your child learn. And then evidence of understanding will help you to evaluate and assess your child's progress and mastery of the concepts in this course. Here we have the objectives of the course: grammar, usage, and mechanics of standard English, compose different essays, use the research process, and apply biblical worldview themes to writing and speaking. Here's some information on assessment and grading. There are 12 chapter tests included in this course corresponding to the grammar chapters. The writing chapters will have writing rubrics so that you can know what to look for in your child's writing. You can also give these rubrics to your child so that they know what to expect in the assignment and the grading process. The work text will include several formative assessment activities, allowing them to practice, review, and use what they have learned. And then the chapter review section is a good way to help your child prepare for the upcoming chapter tests. The lessons in this course will follow the steps of the teaching cycle: engage, instruct, apply, and assess. You'll see these different steps repeated throughout each of the different lessons. Let's look at some of the features of the different chapters. Each chapter begins with a lesson plan overview. You'll see the chapter number and title across the top, and then in the first column, the day or lesson that you're on. Most of the lessons can be completed in one day, but you will occasionally see a lesson call for multiple days to cover the content. Next, the pages in your Teacher's Edition, your students' work text pages. The Teacher's Resources column will list instructional aids or resources that can be found in the Teacher's Edition or online. Whenever the book mentions Teacher Tools Online, you'll want to be sure to look in your parent account on the Homeschool Hub. And then in the last column, we have topics and biblical worldview shaping themes that are covered in each lesson. The lessons and chapters in this book are divided up between writing chapters and grammar chapters. Let's start by taking a look at a writing chapter. Each chapter, writing or grammar, will begin with some chapter objectives. These are the things that you want your child to learn by the end of this chapter. Next, you'll see a section of chapter notes. This is just an overview of what is going to be covered throughout the chapter. And whenever you see this little box labeled Teacher Tools Online, remember that as a homeschool parent, you will want to visit the Homeschool Hub. Each of the writing chapters will open with a question. This is just an opportunity to challenge your student to think deeper about what's going to happen in the upcoming chapter. Let's look at a sample lesson. You'll see the lesson number in the top corner of each page. The work text pages that will be your child's assignment for this lesson will be listed next, and then you'll see a box with the lesson objectives, the biblical worldview shaping themes covered in this chapter, and then teacher resources. The lesson objectives will help you to make sure that you're covering the content that your child needs in each lesson. The biblical worldview shaping themes will help you to guide your child in thinking biblically about their writing and their assignments. And then the teacher resources. Instructional aids can be found in the back of the teacher's edition. Occasionally in your margin notes, you may notice a highlighted yellow box. These are teacher's tips that will provide additional explanation or information that's pertinent to the lesson. You may also occasionally see a box labeled differentiated instruction. The suggestions in these boxes may help struggling students or offer additional activities or enrichment for students who need an additional challenge. The writing chapters will help to guide you and your student through the steps of the writing process: planning, drafting, revising, proofreading, and publishing. If you've used BJU Press homeschool materials before for a writing and grammar course, these steps will be very familiar to you. But if not, each of the lessons will help walk you through the process. The first step of the writing process is planning. In this step of the writing process, your child will plan out what their essay is going to be about and what they will say. The lesson will offer several ideas on different ways to plan an essay. Your child's work text will offer opportunities to practice what they're learning, as well as examples. The next stage of the writing process is drafting. The drafting step is your child's opportunity to use the notes and outlines that they created during the planning process to write the first draft of their essay. You'll notice that this lesson is intended to be done in 2 days. Next is the revising step. In the revising step of the writing process, your child will look at ways to improve their essay. Part of the revising process is peer reviews. This is an important step, but can sometimes be difficult for homeschoolers to accomplish. I have had siblings that are close in age look at a paper. I've also asked my child's friends who are of a similar age or grade level. Or sometimes I just do it myself. In your child's work text, they will have opportunities to practice and review the skills that they're learning in each of the lessons. The answers have been provided for you in the teacher's edition. The next step of the writing process is proofreading. In this stage, your child will be looking for errors with grammar, usage, punctuation, capitalization, or spelling. This gives them the chance to correct any of these errors before writing their final draft in the publishing stage. The Writing Toolbox feature will give your child examples that they can follow and imitate in their writing. It will also add some additional instruction throughout the different chapters. At the end of the teacher's edition is a section of teacher resources. You'll see a page explaining the gospel. This page will walk you through teaching grammar for writing, applying grammar to writing, and walk you through the writing process, as well as looking at writing assignments, speaking and listening skills, application and review, and homework assignments. This handbook of spelling skills and study skills can also be found at the back of your child's student work text. These pages offer helpful hints for spelling, as well as looking at specific types of words and spelling rules. The study skills pages will offer tips and helpful hints for developing good study habits. And then we have a section of instructional aids. When these instructional aids are needed as part of a lesson, they will be referenced in the teaching notes in the margins of the Teacher's Edition lessons. Now let's take a look at part 2 of the Teacher's Edition. Just like part 1, we start with a table of contents with the introduction material and chapters 1 through 9, which are covered in part 1, and then chapters 10 through 18, which will be what is contained in part 2. And then again, at the back, just like in part 1, we have some teacher resources. We have the biblical worldview shaping themes, the explanations of academic rigor, the objectives of the course, and some reminders for assessments and grading, and the teaching cycle overview. In part 1, we took a look at a writing chapter. So in part 2, let's take a look at a grammar chapter. Chapter 10 is going to look at phrases. Here in the first column, we have the day and lesson number. Then the teacher edition pages, which will be in this part of the teacher's edition, your child's work text pages, teacher resources. You'll see instructional aids, which can be found at the end of the teacher's edition, assessments, which can be found in the assessments packet, and resources on afterschoolhelp.com. This is a great website for supplemental or enrichment activities for your child. And then in the last column, we have the topics covered in each lesson, as well as any biblical worldview shaping themes. The chapter starts with our chapter objectives and the overview of the lessons in this chapter in the chapter notes. Often, you'll see a reminder to visit Teacher Tools online. As a homeschool parent, these resources are available to you through your parent account on the Homeschool Hub. Just like with the writing chapters, the grammar chapters also start with an opening question. This question will just get your child engaged in the upcoming lessons and thinking about the different concepts that they will be reviewing and learning. The Discover section of the chapter opener will offer a mentor text that your child can read and analyze to see how grammar affects different types of writing. Once again, you'll see the lesson number in the top corner of the page, followed by your students' work text pages. And then you'll have a box with the lesson objectives, which will help you to make sure that you are covering the key points of content in each lesson. And then the teacher resources may be items that you need to pull from the assessments packet, instructional aids from the back of the teacher's edition, or online resources that can be found on afterschoolhelp.com or in your parent account on the Homeschool Hub. And once again, in the margins, you'll see the steps of the teaching cycle. In your teacher's edition, you'll see the smaller version of your child's work text pages. In addition to seeing what your child is seeing in their work text, these pages also act as an answer key for their work text assignments. Your child will have these green teaching boxes that will provide terms, definitions, and example sentences for the concepts being taught or reviewed in each lesson. Throughout the lessons, you'll find grammar toolbox pages. These pages will highlight the 6 writing traits of ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, and convention. They will also look at vivid and concrete nouns, active and passive voice, and the use of third person in writing. The notes in the margins will help as you teach through these pages. The apply portion of the teaching cycle gives you the work text pages to assign to your child for each lesson. These pages will give your child the opportunity to practice and apply what they have learned. The assess step of the teaching cycle will also incorporate exercises from the work text, as well as pre-assessments, assessments, and concept reinforcement pages from the assessments packet. At the end of each grammar chapter will be a chapter review. These pages will help your child to study and prepare for the chapter test. The lesson numbers in the top corner of the pages indicate the time spent on the chapter review, as well as a test day. At the end of the teacher's edition, we have our teacher resources. Just like in part 1, we have a page explaining the gospel, some information on teaching English, and then we have the spelling and study skills handbooks that can be found in the back of your child's student work text. Next, we have a section of instructional aids. These are the instructional aids that are called for in the lessons in Part 2 of the Teacher's Edition. You can see a list on these pages here. And then once again, we have a writing rubric. These pages can be reproduced for use by your child with the indicated lessons. Some of these are supplemental assignments or activities that will help to reinforce the skills taught in the lessons. And then at the end of the reproducible pages, you will see a section of answer keys where the answers have been included and filled in for you. And then we have an index of the topics and concepts covered in these lessons and a series of acknowledgments. Next, let's take a look inside of the student work text. Your child's book for this course is a consumable work text. That means that many of the assignments for this course will be completed right in this book. Just like the Teacher's Edition, we have a table of contents. You'll notice that the writing chapters are indicated in blue, while the grammar chapters are indicated in green. You'll also see the writing or grammar toolbox sections highlighted under each chapter title. This page offers some great information about the why behind studying writing and grammar. In our home, it's their very first English assignment, day 1. Here we have chapter 1 with the chapter title. Just like in the Teacher's Edition, you'll see the opening question. These questions are such a great way to spark conversation with our children about what they're thinking and how they're looking at or looking forward to the upcoming lessons. I love this section on self-expression versus Christ expression. As a mom with kids who love to write, I want my children to understand that the purpose of their writing is not to simply express themselves and their own ideas, but to write clearly and express ideas that will ultimately bring glory to God. And in this section, your child will also be introduced to the different worldview themes covered in this course. The assignments in the writing chapters will walk your child through the writing process: planning, drafting, revising, proofreading, and publishing. In addition to information that will explain these concepts, they will also have opportunities to practice, review, and use what they're learning. Here we have the writing toolbox section, which will offer examples for your child to follow and imitate. At the end of the grammar chapters, you'll find the chapter reviews. These pages are a great way for your child to recall and review what they have learned as they study and prepare for the upcoming chapter tests. At the end of your child's work text is a handbook with spelling skills and study skills. Spelling is an important component of good writing. This section will offer spelling hints as well as some reminders about spelling rules for specific types of words. The Study Skills Handbook follows the Spelling Skills section. These pages will offer your child helpful tips and hints for developing good study habits and skills. At the end of the book is an index. The concepts covered in the book are arranged alphabetically with the page numbers to help your child find them if needed. And then some photo credits. And then lastly, let's take a look at the assessment packet and the corresponding answer key. The assessments packet has 12 pre-assessments, 12 chapter tests, and a final exam, as well as 32 concept reinforcement pages. The packet with the blue cover contains all of the answer keys for the pre-assessments, the chapter tests, and the concept reinforcement pages. We're not going to look inside of these to maintain test integrity. Just know that they both will come with your textbook kit.